What made you realize someone you knew was actually completely messed in the head? Went out hunting. While we were taking a break, he pointed his rifle at my head, paused, and pulled the trigger. It wasn't loaded. I left and never went anywhere with him again. When my friend showed me her money and plans to travel to the state of Washington, she was planning to steal Edward Cullen from Bella. Twilight was 100% real in her head. Last I heard, she had got into some hard drugs. We made a friend of mine dress up as Edward Cullen for a Halloween party back at the height of the Twilight craze. Got him a wig, put sparkly body paint all over him and everything. This girl latched onto him so hard and would not leave his side all night. Which would have just been cute and funny, but she was calling him Edward. Just kept calling him Edward no matter how many times people corrected her. And he was too polite to say anything himself, or even object. She kept texting him for like 2 weeks after that, and he didn't have the heart to just put an end to it once and for all, so I had to do it for him. I was polite but firm. She was also still calling him Edward in her texts. When they told our friend group of 15 years they had brain cancer and would be dead in 3 months, went on going away vacation with everyone, cried a million tears, made funeral plans, had therapy sessions about it. They are still alive, never had cancer. Turns out they were just worried they were going to jail for embezzling money. SMH, still not sure how that was going to play out well. Not my story, but a friend's. His buddy was sitting around the fire, hanging out and chatting with everyone else. The guy finished his beer, turned to his wife and crushed the can on her forehead, which knocked her out like a light. My buddy said, "That guy says he loves his wife, but he did that to her. I'm not going to wait around to find out what he'd do to me." Threads like these make me realize how boring my life really is and how thankful I am for that. When she threatened to pour paint thinner on me in the shower because she was mad that I didn't know what she wanted to eat. What was that supposed to accomplish exactly? Was she going to throw a match in too? I don't think momentary exposure to paint thinner would cause any significant damage. Was your bathroom poorly ventilated and she wanted to expose you to the fumes? Was she trying to give you dry skin? You know, I wish I had the clarity in that moment to say all of that. A guy I went to school with told me he stabbed himself with a flathead screwdriver for fun. This guy I met in college was a very nice guy. After knowing him for about 9 months, I went to his house in the summer for the first time. Before we went in, he told me about his sister's humongous ass, and would not quit rambling on about it. He even went on about how she was blessed with that ass. However, the defining moment was when he walked in and slapped her butt. She said, "Stop!" in an embarrassed voice, and shoved him away, as if they were playing. I don't think she liked it at all. Needless to say, I began distancing myself from him more and more after that home visit. When I was 17, my older brother, who was always normal towards me, basically asked if we could have sex. I was shocked, frightened, hurt, and disappointed all in one. It was traumatizing. He spent the following years stealing my panties and following me around a lot of the time and brushing past me. He took photos of me walking down the hall. I got married a couple years ago, and I moved states away. It's a whole level of abuse I can never recover from. Shit, this reminds me of a dude I used to be friends with who told me and another friend of mine that he once had a massive crush on his older sister, and when she got married he hated, and probably still hates, her husband. When someone I knew said they'd killed a bunch of stray cats around their neighborhood. Same guy's son openly said they were becoming a cop to kill people. They are in fact a cop now. I knew a guy in high school who wanted to join the army so he could kill some motherfuckers. This was back around 2005, right in the middle of the war. He did go, served 8 years I believe. Now he's an alcoholic, literally drinks a huge bottle of Jack a day, and got an 18-year-old pregnant. I had a roommate who was a compulsive liar. I had drawn a picture of myself with a dry erase marker on our bathroom mirror, and he had made a word bubble coming out of my mouth saying, "I love cock." When he pointed it out to me, he acted like I had written it. I said it was obvious that he had written it, since it was in his handwriting, and since he wrote it, then he must be the one who loved cock. This is where a normal person would laugh it off and that would be the end of it. Instead, he got super angry and stormed out of the house. I realized after that a lot of the things he said were lies and he would get furious when confronted with the truth. Our friendship pretty much ended right there. I had a friend who did crazy shit like that. He once got on my phone and sent a love letter from my email to himself, then tried to act like I was gay and in love with him. Weird fucking dude. When she thought it was hilarious that a male friend of hers was sexually assaulted by a woman while he was unconscious at a party. She was there to witness it, nobody did a thing to stop it, and everyone there made fun of him after he woke up. My blood was boiling. The only reason this came up was because the guy in question was walking in front of us on campus, and my, now ex-friend told me this story, giggling and smiling all the way. After trying and failing to make her understand how awful this incident was, she brushed me off, and our friendship was done. Father-in-law told me if I got the COVID vaccine I couldn't go to heaven because my soul would mutate. I guess in his mind your soul and DNA are connected, and the shot changes your DNA so now your soul is no good. When my ex-wife texted my best friend's fiancé from my phone, pretending to be me saying I wasn't going to my friend's bachelor party or their wedding, and then deleting the texts, all without my knowledge, presumably expecting it all to blow over unnoticed. It didn't. Started making Facebook posts about how methamphetamine is perfectly healthy and only gets a bad rap from big pharma because money, and how using it is completely sustainable as long as you control the dosages. A few months later she disappeared from social media and I never heard from her again. Sounds like she wasn't very good at controlling the dosage. My ex-husband, he told one of his ex-girlfriends, a complete and total stranger to me, about a very personal medical scare I was going through at the time. When I told him that he had zero business sharing that with someone, he got really angry and told me that I just had to get over my jealousy issues toward anyone he had ever slept with. Same person told me he might be nicer to me if I gave him oral sex more often. My life drastically improved in 1,000 ways after I divorced him. Congrats on getting away from him. Sounds like my ex-husband. He'd smack me around and then get mad when I wouldn't sleep with him. But that'd have him a reason to cheat because I was cold. I'm also much happier away from him, but unfortunately have a few false teeth and a crooked nose from him punching me. My partner's ex is a malignant narcissist with a long history of using their daughter as a pawn, trying to weaponize access, attempts to extort money, etc., etc. She hates me on the sole principle that I exist as part of my partner and his daughter's life. She's gotten progressively worse over the course of our relationship. She contacted my partner saying she was about to be intubated in the ICU and gave him her dying wishes. When he called the hospital, it turned out she was just there for some 4 antibiotics. Shit hit the fan the weekend we moved in together. She had made several attempts to sabotage this, by professing her undying love for my partner, then when that didn't work would turn around and start fights in front of their daughter about what an incompetent piece of shit deadbeat father he is. He's not, for the record. He single-handedly changed my mind on having kids by being such a tender, doting father. Anyways, when their daughter went back to her place after we moved in, the ex claimed that I had been beating her daughter and locking her in a cage. She said the daughter was no longer allowed at our home unless I wasn't residing there, and that she would be reporting me to CPS. Weeks went by and nothing happened, so my partner called and had a case opened himself because he obviously wants his daughter in his life. We're still going through the courts to sort this nightmare out. The ex feels completely justified. She finally found a power play bad enough to actually cause damage in our lives, and the sad part is, their daughter is the one who's going to suffer the most. That woman is sent straight from hell, I swear to God. A kid I knew used to manipulate kids into doing things in elementary, and say it was funny. He then got suspended after trying to convince a vegan girl in our class to eat meat, and even tried to shove it in her mouth. He also finally got expelled after almost convincing a kid to bring a knife to school and shank me. I then found out after the kid told me someone was gonna kill me. I think what his problem was that his mom was a drug addict and the dad ran over his foot with a lawnmower and ripping off 2 of his toes, so he only had his big sister to look up to, and the big sister a bitch, and used to push kids off of swing sets and stuff. I recently got in contact with him, and he's doing better. He went to therapy, and good thing the mom got married then divorced, and the kid got to stay with the stepdad because the mom refused to raise him. He's really nice now, has a good home and got stuff for his foot so he balances better and doesn't trip stick, kinda crazy but a lot nicer. He was our neighbor. He's a nice guy and everything. My husband and I hung out and drank with him most weekends for about 3 years. He had this habit when he was really trashed in that he would tell stories about his time as a Navy SEAL. These were violent stories, and it was almost like he gloating. About 2 years into this friendship, I was sharing a bottle of wine with his wife on my porch, and she tells me he was never a Navy SEAL. She told me he washed out of boot camp. It wasn't too long after that my husband and I started distancing ourselves. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.